February 14th.
There's multiple parades, multiple balls.
That incessant round of parades and parties are what brings three friends of Milan Boudreaux out to Metairie 2 days after Fat Tuesday.
Milan had been a no-show at several events that week during Mardi Gras.
Friends were concerned that they hadn't heard from her in over a week.
She wasn't answering or returning their calls either.
It was radio silence, which is completely unlike their relationship.
Something clearly is wrong. So on this particular day, they say, you know what, we're gonna go to the house.
Milan!
But there's no answer.
Maybe she went somewhere. Well, then why didn't she answer her phone?
Milan's vehicle was missing from the parking lot.
Let's try and call the apartment complex.
They contacted the property manager, and she was not available.
Then they noticed a maintenance man at the neighboring apartment, and they asked him to let them in.
When they talked to the maintenance man, he said he didn't have a key.
But he did know a way inside.
The maintenance man suggested that they try the sliding door.
So they ended up hopping the fence.
It's stuck.
There was a PVC pipe or something blocking the door.
Let me try.
They were able to jimmy it open.
What is this? Oh.
They were taken back by the smell.
Milan?
But much worse awaits them inside.
Oh my God!
They found Milan laying on the ground in the apartment.
"26-year-old Milan Boudreaux had been living her best life.
She was someone that everyone loved. Quirky, clever, funny, just someone you want to be around all the time.
But getting there hadn't been easy.
Milan was born Morris Alexander. She had a very difficult time growing up as a transgender woman in the South. However, Milan put on a brave face. She walked with pride. She embraced who she was.
And she had a knack for bringing that confidence out in others.
Milan was a stylist. She loved to help others look good. It was her passion.
So of course she had all the fashion trends on lock, and she had the hair on point, nails on point, makeup on point.
She was also very active in New Orleans' club scene.
It's a place where people can freely express themselves and do not have to worry about judgment and ridicule for their personal beliefs and their sexual orientation.
She loved the New Orleans nightlife and had a very close-knit friendship group.
However, Milan's life wasn't all play.
She was taking classes at Southern University in New Orleans.
And through it all, she had the loving support of her longtime friend, Akeem.
Akeem and Milan were best friends.
They'd grown up together in New Orleans in this tight-knit group of friends, but the two were like night and day.
Milan was the girl's girl, the fashionista, but Akeem was a guy's guy. He was on the football team, he loved his sports.
They were polar opposite.
But eventually, those opposites did attract.
You sure about this?
What do you mean?
You know.
Come on, Milan. It's me.
Despite what society may have said or the pressures they may have felt, Akeem didn't have a problem with it.
Akeem was not embarrassed about his relationship with Milan. He was very, very, very proud of who she was and who they were.
He loved her, appreciated her, and wanted to be with her. So it was natural that they came together to become a couple.
Once they were official, Milan moved into Akeem's apartment in suburban Metairie.
Akeem was actually the one who suggested that Milan move in with him. And Milan even went as far as taking Akeem's last name because she felt so secure in their relationship.
Although it wasn't yet legal, they essentially considered themselves married.
This relationship was on its way to a bright future.
But now, after being unable to reach Milan for more than a week, friends have found her dead body inside her and Akeem's suburban New Orleans home.
Milan's friend, Celeste, she calls 911, and the audio of that call, it is heartbreaking.
She's been missing for about a week. Ever since the beginning of this week, so a group of us decided to come over here and turn in their dead. Let me just get somebody over here.
Jefferson Parish Sheriff's deputies respond to the scene.
All right, we're gonna need y'all to wait outside.
The person was deceased inside, so it's considered a code 2 call. Officers are basically on deck. We go in, we see what we have, we clear the house, make sure nobody else is inside.
But as the deputies move through the apartment, they make another gruesome discovery.
Hey, back here.
They find another dead body.
Struggling with discrimination over her identity, Milan Boudreau had found love with her best friend, Akeem.
Milan and Akeem established a relationship.
People like seeing them together, and his family says that he was happy.
They were a very loving couple.
But now, after Milan and Akeem have been missing for over a week, Jefferson Parish Sheriff's deputies have discovered 2 dead bodies inside the couple's suburban New Orleans apartment.
They knew that they had been there for quite some time because of how badly decomposed they were.
They were almost unidentifiable. They were so decomposed.
Start major crime.
So you can just imagine how terrible that scene must have been.
After deputies secure the scene, homicide detectives arrive to begin their investigation.
They were trying to determine what went wrong in this apartment.
There's speculation as to what occurred. Is it a murder-suicide? Is it a home invasion?
Based on the condition of the apartment, a home invasion appears unlikely.
There were no signs of forced entry.
They were also able to rule out that this was a robbery.
No large ticket items were missing.
However, neither victim had a cell phone on them.
And while the detectives suspect the victims are Milan and Akeem, what happened inside the apartment is less clear.
Due to how badly the bodies were decomposed, they were unable to tell on scene exactly the cause of death.
Although there are some clues.
There was a .380 shell casing found at the scene.
And there was no gun found anywhere in the apartment.
Detectives were able to rule out a murder-suicide.
Jefferson Parish are now investigating this as a double homicide.
While the medical examiner's crew removes the bodies in order to confirm their identities and determine exactly how they died, detectives speak with Milan and Akeem's friends, Scott and Brandon.
Milan's friend Celeste was too distraught to give her statement at the scene.
She was devastated. This woman was looking for her friend and then found her in this state.
The detectives begin by trying to establish a timeline to determine when the murders occurred.
The state of these bodies, they were so badly decomposed, told them it had been quite a while.
When was the last time you saw Milan?
Monday night at a club.
About what time?
About 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning.
That would be the early morning hours of February 5th. So that was 9 days before the bodies were discovered.
All right, why did you go over there today?
I called several times and several of the friends called also. Everyone was getting worried.
Both Milan and Akeem were very active in their friend groups and their communities. This wasn't like them to just disappear.
In fact, Scott says he'd been so worried he'd dropped by the apartment on Monday.
And that was the 11th
3 days before they found the bodies.
I didn't knock on the door because I didn't see a car.
He thought, okay, maybe they're out of town.
When people go missing, there are lots of different possibilities of why they went missing, whether they just wanted to get away from life stress, their environment.
But after several more days with no word from Milan, Scott, Celeste, and Brandon had decided to try again.
They had a very strong feeling that something was wrong.
But when they got there, her car was still gone.
Maybe she went somewhere.
They got no answer on the door.
The front door was locked, and that's when we sat out. I talked to the manager.
That didn't work. So when the maintenance man suggested that they try the sliding door, they did not hesitate.
We said, let's do it, because we both worried. Like, we don't go a day without really talking to her.
But Scott is still in shock from the horrific scene they encountered inside the apartment.
The friends can't believe what happened. They have no reason to think their friends would be dead like this.
Any idea who would have done them harm?
No, ma'am.
This was a couple who didn't appear to have any enemies. Thank you for your
And the crime scene has left detectives little to work with.
They had one shell casing, that was it.
However, what's missing from the scene may be just as important for the investigation.
Their car was not in the parking lot.
Where could this vehicle be?
Maybe the killer had made off with Milan and Akeem's car.
Hoping it could lead them to the killer, detectives issue a be on the lookout for the vehicle.
At this point, detectives were grasping at straws.
Although when detectives receive the autopsy results, they do at least confirm that the victims are indeed Milan and Akeem.
The autopsy also confirmed how they died.
Milan and Akeem both suffered with gunshot wounds to their head.
They'd both been shot execution style.
Akeem had been shot in the side of his head.
The angle of Milan's wounds suggested that she was in front of the attacker when she was shot.
But who would want to execute the couple? With little else to go on, the detectives start digging into Milan and Akeem's past.
They wanted to know who are these people affiliated with and what would lead to this crime.
It was possible that only one of them was the killer's target and the other was just collateral damage.
When the detectives run Akeem's name through their database, something pops.
Akeem was on probation for a marijuana charge.
Are they looking at a drug deal gone bad?
Or was it possible Milan was the target?
Looking into her background, the detectives discovered that Milan had been on probation, but it was not for selling drugs. It was for selling herself.
Detectives investigating the deaths of Milan and Akeem Boudreaux have uncovered information that may have contributed to the couple's execution-style murders.
Akeem was on probation for a marijuana charge, and Milan was a sex worker.
Milan was arrested 8 months prior for prostitution, and she was also on probation.
And now detectives wonder if either could have been a factor in the murders.
Are they looking at someone who was upset about a drug deal?
Or was the killer one of Milan's clients?
Sex work is a very dangerous line of work because those who do sex work are less likely to report sexual harassment, assault, and stalking.
You can imagine for detectives that the sky is the limit here.
Hoping to learn more about the couple's illegal activities, the detectives reach out to more people in Milan and Akeem's circle of friends.
Their friends admit that Akeem had been selling weed on a small scale.
They needed money to support their living.
Friends say that Milan had turned to sex work for much of the same reason.
Trans women are likely to experience hiring or workplace discrimination. This can make it extremely difficult to get a job and keep a job.
And since Milan was also paying for school, the money she made at the salon wasn't always enough.
Many trans women are forced to do sex work because they have no other way of making a living.
Milan would meet up with gentlemen from Backpage.
Backpage was a classified advertising website that was shut down in 2018 by the Justice Department for facilitating prostitution.
It might have not been the ideal thing to do, but they were young, in love, and they needed money.
And in light of the inherent danger of sex work, friends say the couple took precautions.
That's him.
I'll be in the bedroom. Be careful.
For her safety, the arrangement between Akeem and Milan was to take these appointments at their home.
But now detectives wonder if those precautions had led to a double homicide.
Now, if the killer was a client, that would explain why Milan was killed in the hallway and Akeem was killed in the bedroom.
Hoping the mystery client may have contacted Milan to schedule the appointment, the detectives subpoena her cell phone records.
That might also explain why her phone was missing. The killer might have taken it, thinking that their number would show up in the call or text logs.
Then, while waiting for the phone records, detectives receive a call from Milan's mother.
Homicide.
After the police released the crime scene, she and Akeem's family started cleaning out the apartment.
Yeah, we were cleaning out their things and I noticed something.
Milan's mom realizes her laptop is missing.
It wasn't on the list that you gave us. Did you guys take it into evidence? No, ma'am.
So now there's no car, there's no cell phone, there's no laptop.
Detectives assume the killer took it for the same reason they may have taken her phone.
Since Milan was advertising via an internet site, the computer may contain information leading to the killer.
But when they receive Milan's phone records, they don't get detectives any closer to identifying a suspect.
The calls and texts Milan made prior to her death were only to her friends and family. So she must have been using email or a texting app to talk to clients.
With her phone a dead end, the detectives focus on Milan's missing car.
Detective, can you come look at this?
They pulled traffic footage from the area around Milan's apartment, and they see Milan's car.
On the video, it appears to be traveling away from the apartment.
The timestamp was February 5th at 9 p.m.
The detectives are convinced that the killer had made off with Milan and Akeem's car.
But if detectives can find it, will it lead them to Milan and Akeem's killer? On February 16th, 2 days after friends found Milan and Akeem's dead bodies inside their apartment, police in Baton Rouge respond to a domestic disturbance call.
Baton Rouge is about 80 miles outside of New Orleans.
Get in the car. Get in the car.
They were called out to a domestic violence altercation in the middle of the street.
When the police arrive, they find a man beating a woman outside a car that's stopped in the street.
Once he realizes the police are there, the man tries to make a run for it.
Hey, stop.
He doesn't get very far. Police catch him.
The man's name is Melvin Miller.
The woman he was assaulting was his girlfriend, Sienna Hampton.
Put your hands behind your back.
But will an assault charge be the only thing Melvin's facing?
When the police run his tags, they find something really suspicious.
He was driving a dead woman's car.
Two days after friends found Milan and Akeem Boudreaux's dead bodies inside the couple's suburban New Orleans apartment, there may be a breakthrough in the case.
Police in Baton Rouge have reached out to Jefferson Parish, letting them know they have a man in custody who has possession of Milan's vehicle.
Thank you. They found the car. We gotta go.
Jefferson Parish detectives immediately make the hour-and-a-half drive to Baton Rouge.
Time now is 4:20 a.m. I'm speaking with Mr. Melvin Miller.
They have questions for this man. They want to know why a man in Baton Rouge is driving Milan's car.
But when they ask him how he ended up with Milan's car, Melvin says he had no idea it was stolen.
Melvin stated that he had bought the vehicle off a gentleman at a gas station on Plank Road in Baton Rouge.
There was a for sale sign in it?
Yes, ma'am.
Melvin said that while he was looking at the car, a man approached him and started negotiating the price.
He asked me how much I had, like $800. He's like, okay.
He says he handed over the $800, and the man had simply given him the keys.
Did you get a bill of sale or anything?
No, ma'am.
The title?
No, ma'am.
In fact, Melvin said he didn't even get the man's name.
He said he seemed to be in his 20s, he had dreadlocks.
You didn't get a phone number?
No, ma'am. I ain't have no phone.
Melvin had an answer for everything.
But the detectives have their doubts.
You trust him enough to give him $800 and not get a piece of paper?
Yes.
What if he came back and said, I want my car?
Melvin claims the man selling the vehicle was not going to come back for the vehicle and it was most likely just going to be his.
He says the car was probably what's known as a rock rental.
A rock rental is you renting this car from the person that owes you drug money. So since they don't have the money for their drugs that they're getting from you, you take their car until they're able to pay you your money.
It's essentially collateral. If you don't pay up, the dealer will sell the car to recover some of the money that you owe.
Or could there be another reason the man was so eager to sell the car?
Maybe it tied him to the murder.
Still, before the detectives look into the mysterious young man with the dreadlocks, they'll need to rule out Melvin as a suspect.
You weren't in New Orleans or Jefferson Parish or that area the week after Super Bowl?
No, ma'am.
Or last week, Mardi Gras or anything?
No, ma'am.
Melvin swore that he had not been in New Orleans in weeks and that he was actually out of town the night of February 5th.
Okay, where did you go?
To Texas.
Texas?
Uh-huh.
Melvin tells detectives he'd taken a bus to Dallas.
What bus?
The Greyhound bus.
You signed the ticket?
No, ma'am.
It's at this point Melvin's alibi begins to get a little bit shaky.
You got the ticket in your name?
Mm-mm.
What name did you use to get the ticket?
Somebody else's name. I ain't want my girl to know that she don't like me leave the town. My girl, that's why.
Melvin told investigators that he was going to see another female in the Dallas area.
Okay. All right, but you didn't go to New Orleans?
No, I didn't be making noise.
Okay. And you didn't get that car in New Orleans?
No.
He started to get defensive, asking the detectives why they were so interested in his new car.
That's when detectives drop the bombshell.
The car you're in belongs to somebody that's dead.
All right.
That's why you're here. That's why you're here. The person who owned the car was murdered, and the car was taken.
Oh.
At that point, Melvin Miller then asked for a lawyer.
You want to end the interview and get a lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
However, while asking for an attorney allows Melvin to stop the interview, it doesn't keep him out of jail.
Investigators are able to hold him on a parole violation of possession of stolen property, which would be Milan Boudreaux's vehicle.
For the moment, they don't have enough evidence to charge him with murder.
Although when the detectives start digging into Melvin's alibi, they soon sense they're on the right track.
The first thing that investigators looked into was the woman in Dallas.
There wasn't a woman in Dallas, Texas with the name that he gave.
Canvassing the gas stations on Plank Road is also a dead end.
There is no evidence to support Melvin's story about buying the car.
Nothing was adding up.
It quickly becomes evident that Melvin Miller is not telling the truth.
However, there is still one thing missing.
Detectives hadn't been able to place Melvin anywhere near New Orleans at the time of the murder.
But will that change when the detectives receive an urgent call on February 19th?
That's 3 days after the Baton Rouge police had caught Melvin with Milan's stolen car.
Okay, why don't...
While Melvin is being held for that parole violation, and the story about Akeem and Milan Boudreaux's murders are all over the news, they receive a tip from a friend of Milan's.
Milan's friend is a trans woman named Christine Harper.
She says she has important information for the detectives, so they bring her in for an interview.
My friend said that they caught a guy in Baton Rouge with Milan's car, that he's in jail. She said the guy has a tongue ring.
Christine says she knew exactly who her friend was talking about.
She said that it immediately came to my mind, the guy is Melvin Miller.
Christine told investigators that she had been talking to Melvin through Facebook, and he had expressed interest in her.
He was a guy that had a thing for trans women.
A little over 2 weeks ago, they tried to arrange a meeting.
Christine says she and Melvin never did hook up. But the date of the abortive encounter does catch the detectives' attention.
They were supposed to meet up on February 5th.
Selected Tuesday after Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's the day Milan and Akeem were murdered. And according to Christine, Melvin was in New Orleans.
He specifically called me and said he was on Canal Street.
Milan Boudreaux has just told detectives that Melvin Miller, the man detectives suspect killed the 26-year-old and her boyfriend Akeem, was in New Orleans at the time of the murders.
Christine received a message from Melvin saying that he was going to be on a Swift bus coming into town to see some friends in the New Orleans area, and he wanted to come by and hook up.
She said they mostly communicated over Facebook or KIK Messenger.
It's like a free messenger app.
Unlike regular text messages, KIK would leave no regular text messages on someone's cell records.
However, according to Christine, Melvin did call her once, on the day of the murder, to tell her he was in New Orleans.
I thought I would have to pick him up from the bus station, but he already said he was here.
Now Melvin's been caught in another lie.
Not only did he say he hadn't been to New Orleans, he also told detectives he didn't have a phone.
Yeah, did he give you the impression he was going to come over and see you?
Yes, he did.
But according to Christine, Melvin never showed.
I was like, just forget it. Yeah. Lose my number and delete.
However, while Melvin didn't hook up with Christine that Tuesday, the detectives suspect he continued looking for a good time while he was in New Orleans.
If he was looking to meet up with a trans woman, he might have had an appointment with Milan.
And it looks far more likely when the detectives show Christine a photo lineup that includes Melvin's mugshot.
Christine picks Melvin out of the lineup, saying, "That's the guy."
That's him. That's him. This one right here? Yes. All right.
But is it enough for an arrest?
Melvin only told Christine he was in New Orleans. She never actually saw him there.
All right, thank you.
Looking for confirmation, detectives subpoena Melvin's cell phone records.
Investigators subpoenaed the cell phone records to be able to pull his geographical location.
What they find is damning.
Once the records are turned over, investigators find out that Melvin was indeed in the area on February 5th.
His phone pinged off a tower about a mile away from Milan and Akeem's apartment.
And thanks to Christine's story, detectives have a pretty good guess why he was there.
Melvin was trying to link up with Milan for a sex date.
However, while the phone records put Melvin at the scene of the crime, there is still a piece missing.
Detectives don't have a murder weapon.
Hoping to get a lead on it, the detectives head back to Baton Rouge to talk to Melvin's girlfriend, Sienna Hampton.
Sienna's the woman Melvin had been assaulting when they found him with Milan's car.
When detectives meet with her, they learn she is also transgender.
We want to start off, who is your boyfriend?
My boyfriend is Melvin Miller.
And you're in a dating type relationship?
Yeah, I guess he would be what you call a down low boy, and we have been having a down low relationship for the last 10 months.
down low, means that someone is hiding a part of themselves that they are ashamed to reveal to the rest of the world.
He tried to hide her from his friends, and he didn't like for anyone to know that he was dealing with anyone that was trans.
Sienna confirms Melvin left town on the morning of February 5th.
He wasn't supposed to be leaving Baton Rouge. That's the thing. He lied and said he was about to go by one of his friend's house, and I realized he had been took an overnight stay.
According to Sienna, Melvin was back the next day with a new car.
What did he tell you about the car? How you got a car?
Melvin advised that he got it from a friend.
His friend let Melvin drive the car back to Baton Rouge, and Melvin was supposed to bring the car back or whatever. But as days go by, Melvin continued to have the car.
Sienna also tells detectives that the car wasn't all Melvin brought back from New Orleans.
A laptop computer?
Yeah.
And an iPhone 4?
Right.
Clearly, those had to be Milan's missing phone and computer.
Where the phone and laptop are now, Sienna doesn't know.
He tried to sell it to random people in the neighborhood.
Even without the actual devices, Sienna's story strengthened the case against Melvin.
We got phone records showing that Melvin was right outside the Metairie home. We also have Melvin in possession of Milan's car, in possession of Milan's cell phone and her laptop. So law enforcement has a compelling case.
And thanks to Sienna, it's about to get even stronger.
She tells the detectives that Melvin had a gun.
He stole the gun from a friend of his.
According to Sienna, he had it with him when he went to New Orleans.
How you know?
Because he came home, he unpacked it, put it back on the shelf.
When detectives interview Melvin Miller's girlfriend, Sienna, she reveals that the 23-year-old had taken a gun to New Orleans the day someone shot and killed Milan and Akeem Boudreaux.
When he left for New Orleans, he had a gun with him?
Yeah, I realized that he had took the gun out of the house because the gun was not at the top of the closet.
Sienna says he stores his silver handgun on the top of his closet.
But was it the murder weapon?
You know the difference between a revolver and a pistol?
Yes, I do.
Okay, was it a revolver or a pistol?
No, it's not a revolver. It's like an automatic.
Okay, is it bigger than my gun?
No, it's smaller than your gun.
While Sienna didn't know the exact caliber of the gun, her description is consistent with the murder weapon.
After talking to Sienna, the detectives secure a warrant to search the apartment she shares with Melvin.
During the search, they were unable to find any trace of a handgun, so they believe Melvin must have gotten rid of it.
Failing to find the murder weapon is a disappointment for detectives.
There was no direct evidence tying Melvin to this crime.
However, it isn't enough to stop them from charging him with murder.
Melvin is charged with second-degree murder for the killing of Milan Boudreaux and Akeem Boudreaux.
When the case goes to trial, the prosecutors argue that Melvin had gone to Milan's on the evening of February 5th looking for sex.
Prosecutors believe that this was not a premeditated crime.
If anything, murder was the last thing that Melvin had in mind.
You look way more prettier than the pictures. Aren't you funny?
Prosecutors theorized that Melvin assumed he would be alone with Milan.
But he soon realized that wasn't the case.
Sorry, I'll give y'all some space.
Who's that?
Melvin had no reason to know that Akeem would be there.
Oh, that's my boyfriend. Let's go with it.
No, I'm not cool with that.
Melvin was shocked to see that Akeem was there and got upset.
According to Sienna, Melvin's attraction to trans women was a deep secret.
I'm not cool with that.
One he would do anything to protect.
I'm not cool. Oh my God.
He ended up shooting Milan Boudreaux first. And then he went on and killed Akeem Boudreaux in their bedroom.
Hold on, what happened?
According to the prosecution, Melvin killed Milan and Akeem to protect his secret.
Prosecutors suspect Melvin took Milan's phone and computer for the same reason.
If they've been in contact on messaging apps, that info could be on either device.
And then he took Milan's car and drove back to Baton Rouge.
He was still driving the car almost 2 weeks after the murder.
When it's the defense's turn, they argue that there's a perfectly innocent explanation for why Melvin had Milan's car.
The defense stands by Melvin's original story that he bought the car from a man with dreadlocks at a gas station in Baton Rouge, and that he was the actual killer, not Melvin.
We had no witnesses saying that Melvin committed these crimes. We had no video evidence to show that Melvin went in the house. It was purely circumstantial.
But will that be enough to raise reasonable doubt with the jury?
The jurors find Melvin guilty on 2 counts of second-degree murder.
He's sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Not that any amount of time can make up for everything Melvin destroyed in his moment of panic.
Milan and Akeem lost their lives, mainly because Melvin didn't want to express his true identity, or he didn't want people to know what his sexual preference was.
Marginalization, systemic oppression, hate crimes, all of these things matter because it trickles down to the individual person or the individual people.
It's a shame that Melvin couldn't live his truth, and because of that, he took the lives of 2 people who did live their truth.
It's just a horrible thing that this was a gruesome murder of 2 people in love.
Police in Baltimore, Maryland respond to an emergency call near Morgan State University.
We received a phone call from our dispatcher notifying that a shooting had taken place at Harford Road and Moravia Road. We responded out to the location. When we got out there were people everywhere.
The crowd is gathered around a gray Honda that has crashed into a liquor store. Onlookers say the vehicle careened off the road after it was shot at by an unidentified gunman.
The driver's side was literally riddled with bullets. There were a number of bullets struck into the car, into the roof, out the other side. Speaking with the primary officer, they gave me a breakdown about what took place. An adult male had been shot. Adult male was subsequently transported to Johns Hopkins Hospital.
The victim is 23-year-old rapper Tyrese Watson, better known to his fans by his stage name.
Someone came up to me and said that this is Scooter. At that time, I had no idea who Scooter was.
Tyrese Trayvon Watson was born on April 13th, 1993. He grew up near Pennsylvania Avenue in West Baltimore, a neighborhood with strong ties to Black music history.
Years ago, I'm talking like the 60s, 70s, you had the biggest names come to do concerts on Pennsylvania Avenue. Frank Sinatra, Commodores, this is where everything took place. Because of the influx of drugs that have infiltrated the community, there has been a fall off.
Scooter's rise to stardom would hit a few snags along the way. As a teenager, he got mixed up in some illegal activities and briefly lost sight of the big picture. In 2011, at age 17, he was arrested for drug possession. But this turned out to be a blessing in disguise.
Scooter was placed into a program called the Violence Prevention Initiative, or VPI.
In 2014, Scooter's song Bird Flu became the unofficial anthem of Baltimore's West Side.
While it has various meanings, our sports teams, the Orioles and the Ravens, are both birds. So there plays on that as well. So it galvanizes people around it from that aspect.
Everybody here, everybody in the state of Maryland believed in this kid. You had athletes dancing to it. You had Diddy shouting him out. You had Meek Mill shouting him out. It was like something the city never seen before.
His success inspired him to help create the Westside Entertainment Group, YBS.
YBS stands for Young Ball is Shining. They were very supportive of Scooter, very supportive of his career. They did everything they need to do to make him that superstar.
Scooter's personal life was thriving as well. In 2016, he started dating fellow musician Taylor Johnson, also known as Sneaky T.
We were kind of always like popular in the city. Both had a name, we had mutual friends, so it kind of just happened. Scooter is a very caring person, demanding. he was a little demanding, but he was a man. Like, he would get stuff done.
He was really laid back and chill, but when he hit the stage and that light hit him, he was a totally different animal. You could tell him he was in his element, let's say that.
Scooter and Sneaky T even performed together once.
We had a booking together, and it was so fun. Just imagine you and your significant other are in the same field. Y'all both getting paid to do what y'all like to do, getting big money to do what you like to do. Y'all both coming home with a bag. Y'all both happy. Like, it was just, that was a great night.
As his reputation grew, Scooter began using his platform to spread a message of nonviolence.
He was one of the few people that you can actually see making it to the next level. I think Scooter was going to perpetuate that positive attitude and give everybody hope.
You know, he took his craft very seriously, spent a lot of time in the studio, and now he's going to peace rallies, trying to get back to the community, trying to tell kids that are coming behind him, you don't have to go that route.
On June,
to give young fans who wanted to see them do something other than what they normally do. You know, Scooter wasn't a basketball player, but you can tell he was having fun.
For everyone involved, it was a major success. But less than an hour after the rally ended, tragedy struck.
I just remember, like, you know, being happy that we had another successful event. And then I remember getting a call, leaving the gym, that Scooter got shot.
As Scooter is rushed to the hospital, Baltimore police began questioning potential witnesses. One of them immediately stands out.
My attention was really put toward a woman that was crying, very distraught on the side of the road. Come to find out that was Taylor Johnson, the girlfriend of Little Scooter.
Taylor says more police are investigating the death of rapper Lil Scooter, shot by an unknown gunman on his way home from a peace rally.
We had about 11 shell casings that were located in the intersection, were right at the light. The caliber of gun we discovered was a .40 caliber handgun. There were no shell casings in the vehicle, which leads us to understand that the shooters were clearly on the outside of the vehicle. All the shots were coming in from the driver's side into the vehicle.
His girlfriend, who was sitting right next to him in the passenger seat, left the scene physically unscathed.
I believe in God, and there was nothing but God watching over her during that time. There were bullet holes literally right over top of her head, where her head would have been. Had she had moved any other direction, she would have been killed also.
It seems clear Scooter was targeted. The question is why?
It's a major intersection. There are surveillance cameras in that intersection. And I remember them getting me the surveillance video rather quickly.
We were able to get video footage of Scooter and Sneaky T walking out of Morgan State University, going toward that car. Shortly thereafter, the Nissan Quest following them as they were traveling down Cold Spring Lane, which turns in to Moravia Road. We're able to see the Nissan Quest do an illegal U-turn in the middle of the street and break fast going after them. going in that direction.
But the individual who got out to do the shooting couldn't make out that person very well from it.
Just after the shooting had taken place, coming into the parking lot, backing out, and then fleeing in the opposite direction.
Still recovering from shock, Scooter's girlfriend, Sneaky T, sits down with police.
It was very hot that day. Well, I remember me getting dressed at home. I had a show that day too. He didn't have a show, I had a show. So we was like, we're gonna go to the rally and then chill later until your show. We get to the game and me and my friend go sit in the bleachers. We were just chilling, playing on our phone, taking pictures. They, playing basketball. Nothing weird. It was just a normal day.
When the game ended, Taylor says she and Scooter got back in the car to drive home, but they weren't familiar with the area.
I'm from South and West, and he from West, so we really didn't have a real good sense of direction of where we were going. We used the GPS to get to the game. So we were leaving the game. I feel like I was typing in an address in my GPS or something. I remember hearing something loud, like a firework. And we both kind of like up, like, like when you hear something loud, like, what was that?
She ducked down, tried to get as small as she could in the vehicle. Thank God she did.
And I heard another one. They kept coming, like 5, 5, 5, 5. The first shot, it was like a pop, like a pause with it or something. And then the shots kept going, so I just grabbed the door and just jumped out the car. As I got out the car, I was walking backwards. And I could see the shooter had like something white over his face. But you could tell that he never looked at me when I got out the car. Like never turned or like pointed the gun to me. Like he was determined, like he wanted Scooter. Like he knew what he wanted. And I remember walking like backwards, like crying, like walking backwards. But he was still shooting. Like he didn't stop. Like he was still shooting. And then he ran. I knew Scooter was dead because the car started drifting. He couldn't hit the brake. I remember the car crashing and me just like falling to the ground crying. I remember people outside saying like, that's Sneaky T, that's Sneaky T. And I was just screaming, screaming, screaming. And then the police and the ambulance came. I just sat there and just looked at the car and was screaming until the police came. And I remember them dragging him out the car and he had like blood coming out his mouth. And he had blood coming out his mouth, and I was just crying. I was like, is he gonna live? Is he gonna live? Asking the officers, like, is he gonna live? Is he gonna live? And they said, we just gonna get him to the hospital. I heard him get to the hospital. We gonna see. I just knew it wasn't good.
Unfortunately, Sneaky T has no idea who the shooter was or why he went after Scooter. But the news quickly spreads, and the community, often at odds with police, bands together to help find Scooter's killer.
The streets are talking, and we need those streets to talk to us.
That's the thing about Baltimore. The people are resilient and always willing to give you another chance. And they rallied around this particular murder because he was relatable, and they saw him as somebody who had survived the odds and was doing the right thing. I think it was just this, we can't believe it. And who would do this?
Right away, the Baltimore police receive a record-breaking number of tips.
Scooter's murder woke the city up.
I had seen more than 300 plus murders in that year, basically. And all the murders that had taken place, I had never seen the abundance of tips that we had in this particular case.
The tips that were coming in ranged from who possibly had set him up to listen to the lyrics of this person rapping.
They wanted to provide things like links to different social media, links to other rappers who had song lyrics that could target Lil Scooter.
A lot of times in the hip hop game, and we've seen this for years. I mean, I grew up with East Coast, West Coast, Biggie, Tupac. You know, lyrics can sometimes get a little rough. And if one group thinks they're being played by another group, sometimes it doesn't stick with just being in the studio. Sometimes things.
In the days following the shooting of Baltimore rapper Lil Scooter, investigators sift through hundreds of tips from the community. Most are dead ends. But a confidential informant working for police provides them with a name.
The informant reached out to their handlers and immediately told them exactly who was responsible for the shooting. Cortez Mitchell.
Cortez Mitchell is a 22-year-old resident of Glen Burnie, Maryland, a suburb of Baltimore.
Our informant was able to tell us right away that not only did Cortez Mitchell shoot and kill Scooter, he told him where the gun was. It was from there that a search warrant was executed and the gun was located exactly where Cortez Mitchell had advised the informant where it was going to be.
Detectives only have the informant's word that the gun belonged to Mitchell and was the one used to kill Scooter.
Just because an informant says something, we don't go and lock someone up right away. We still have to do an investigation.
You want to send that gun to the lab. You want to match up ballistics. You want to get DNA or fingerprints. Unfortunately, some of these things take time, even if you get it rushed. This is a city now that is on pace for 1,000 shootings and murders every year. 1,000. So that's how much evidence is backlogged. That's how much evidence is being processed on a regular basis.
From this point in time, we want to look into Cortez Mitchell, get all of his background, learn about Cortez Mitchell.
While investigators wait for lab results, they talk to everyone they can find with information about Mitchell and any possible motive he might have had for killing Scooter. Word has it that Mitchell belongs to a rap crew known as the Young Go-Getters.
Cortez Mitchell is affiliated with YGG, Young Go-Getters, the opposite of YBS, Young Baller Shining, which is where Scooter was a part of. Once we saw that, we say, okay, this makes sense.
YBS is from West Baltimore, and YGG is from East Baltimore. The two don't get along.
Scooter's entertainment group, Young Baller Shining, or YBS, had an ongoing beef with Young Go-Getters, aka YGG.
You either live over East or you live over West. That's a Baltimore thing. Don't ask me why, it just is what it is. Very small, tight-knit communities that stick together.
You won't be able to tell if you're from out of town, but if you're from Baltimore, you can tell if someone's from East Baltimore or if they're from West Baltimore.
West Baltimore is known for young, fly, and flashy. West Baltimore is like where the fly guys at, where the fly girls at. Getting money guys, getting money girls.
I don't want to portray it as a gang situation. I refuse to do that. That's not that. But there's a lot of stuff that can go along with this. History of East, West, redlining in the black community is something that's very serious.
Scooter rep YBS till literally the day he died. He loved his guys and he loved his crew.
He was loyal to a cause that he thought would change his life and the guys around him. And they was hopeful that Scooter could take the YBS brand to that level.
Some wonder if the beef between the crews is what got Scooter killed.
And I don't really think it was about him. I think it was about who he was associated with. It was a plan to get rid of the team. You know, and what better way to hurt you is take the top dog.
Early in their investigation, Baltimore police have identified 22-year-old Cortez Mitchell as a potential suspect in the murder of local rap star Lor Scooter. Since the two men belonged to rival crews, detectives believe it's possible Scooter was killed to send a message.
A lot of times, associates might do something that might lead to the person being killed. We were looking for other shootings that may have taken place and see if there was any connections with Scooter's case. That's when we found out about the Devontae Robinson case.
Police reports show that 24-year-old Devontae Robinson was shot in West Baltimore at approximately 1 p.m. on June 25th, only a few hours before Scooter was killed.
Now, according to witnesses of that shooting, Robinson was walking on the street when another man opened fire from a black SUV. Despite being shot 3 times, Robinson survived the shooting.
What we come to find out is that Devontae was loosely associated with the rap group YGG, Young Go-Getters.
That's Cortez Mitchell's crew. Although Robinson's shooter wasn't identified, detectives wonder if someone in the YBS crew might have orchestrated the attack. If one of Scooter's associates shot Robinson, it might explain why Scooter was killed.
Who is his homeboy? That's one of the things that we look for. Like, who's your main man? Who's your ride or die that's gonna be with you everywhere you go?
The person who best fits that description is 23-year-old Fred Catchings, a West Baltimore native and Scooter's childhood friend.
Catchings happens to be a close friend of Scooter and the YBS crew.
Had Catchings shot Devontae Robinson? Police learned Catchings was at Scooter's side in the hours before Scooter was killed.
What we come to find out is that Scooter was with Fred Catchings at the basketball game.
Catchings ended up leaving the game prior to Sneaky T and Scooter, and given the violence that followed, it's possible he was trying to avoid being ambushed by Robinson's crew. Instead, he might have gotten his friend killed. As investigators begin the search for Fred Catchings, countless mourners from the West Side gather to lay Scooter to rest.
Everybody was there. I mean, he had a line
in his beloved city.
5 days later, the community is dealt another blow.
Scooter's manager, Trayvon Lee, is gunned down. And he dies from 2 gunshot wounds to the chest, just steps away from his home. From the outside looking in, it is abundantly clear that someone is working very hard to pick off individuals from Scooter's camp.
Earlier that morning, around 10:30 a.m., 3 other young men were ambushed by another unidentified shooter. It is unclear whether the shootings are related, but the violence in Baltimore is clearly escalating.
Police here in Baltimore are used to acts of retaliation. But what they learned with this case is that this was payback on a whole nother level.
The trail of violence begins to go back and forth. It was a bloody tennis match going back and forth throughout the city.
This city is definitely an eye for an eye. If you do something to somebody, your family member, somebody is gonna get you back.
Desperate to stop the violence, Baltimore police hold a press conference on July 7th.
You can't allow street justice to take place because it's only leaving family without their loved one.
A lot of people sit here and think, oh, You cut me, I cut you. You shoot me, I shoot you. But where do it end? How many people you gonna hurt? How many people gotta suffer for it to end?
And investigators are doing everything they can to put a stop to it. So far, they've been unable to locate the man suspected of instigating the cycle of violence with an earlier shooting, Scooter's friend, Fred Catchings. But on July 8th, police catch a break when he's pulled over during a traffic stop.
During that car stop, a gun is recovered. Catchings is placed under arrest, and that gun is linked to the shooting of Devontae Robinson, which took place just hours before and shooting and murder of Scooter. Fred was brought into our homicide office. I stepped in on the interview at that time, going back and forth. Fred began to open up about what took place with Devontae Robinson.
When confronted with the ballistics evidence and surveillance video, Catchings admits to shooting Robinson. He says he believed that Robinson was hired to shoot him, so he wanted to shoot him first.
This was the catalyst to everything taking place afterwards. Fred Catchings just shoots a member of YGG, Devontae Robinson. YGG comes back to shoot at Scooter.
Allegedly, the man sent to kill Scooter was Robinson's friend, YGG member Cortez Mitchell.
Fred Catchings says that while Devontae Robinson was in the hospital recovering from the initial shooting, his friend Cortez Mitchell hit the street looking for revenge. Retaliation needed to be felt. When they found out Scooter was at a public event that day, the Peace Rally, they wanted to hit him where they knew it would hurt.
What we come to find out is that the shooting of Scooter was in retaliation for what Fred had done to Devontae earlier that day. A payback, 100%.
And I was like, damn, that's kind of messed up. It hurt my feelings even more knowing Scooter wasn't the person or involved in whatever happened earlier that day. I had no idea about nothing, and I could have died with something I had nothing to do with.
Investigators charged Catchings with murder and turned their focus to Mitchell. When the crime lab completes its tests on the gun recovered after Scooter's shooting, they confirm it was the murder weapon. Unfortunately, there's no way to prove Mitchell pulled the trigger.
Okay, we've heard that Cortez Mitchell did this. We've matched the ballistics. That still doesn't say Cortez Mitchell did it.
No prints recovered from the gun, but fingerprints are very fragile. They aren't always there. Building a case, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
And I think this is a part of a frustration for the public. It's like they say, y'all know who did it. But investigators get one bite at the apple because of double jeopardy. Just because you know who did it, you have to be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt when you take it into court. And if you don't have it, you can't bring those charges.
As they work to develop more evidence, detectives fear the violence will continue.
Street justice doesn't operate on probable cause or beyond a reasonable doubt.
The streets don't need the same amount of evidence to bring someone to trial. You said he did it. I know he did it. We're going to take care of it ourselves.
On October 10th, 2016, those fears are realized.
Before investigators can make a move to arrest Mitchell, gunfire erupts in West Baltimore once again. Cortez Mitchell and Devontae Robinson were together in a vehicle stopped at a red light when an unknown gunman opened fire, killing Mitchell and wounding Robinson once again.
Cortez Mitchell was shot and killed. Literally the exact same way that Scooter was shot and killed. In a vehicle, at a stop. The saying is, if you're going to seek revenge, make sure you dig 2 graves. This has prime example.
As soon as this happens, you go right back to, this is payback, this is retaliation, this has got to be linked to this event.
Since Cortez Mitchell was the only suspect for the murder of Scooter, his death ends the investigation, although plenty of questions remain.
Bringing this case to a close was bittersweet. It was, yes, we wanted to get the person involved in the murder of Scooter. No, we didn't want anyone else to die in the process.
Does that give the family the closure that they need? I don't know. Only they can answer that. Because sometimes you want to see them in court, and it's whether they say, I'm guilty because I did it, or the judge or jury says you're guilty because the evidence says so.
For the community, it's not enough. They want someone to be held accountable, not only for Scooter, but to send the message that continued violence won't be tolerated.
With Scooter's suspected killer now murdered, prosecutors push forward to try Fred Catchings for the initial shooting that alleged.
More than a year has passed since the string of shootings that claimed the lives of multiple men, including Baltimore rapper Lil Scooter. And the city is still reeling.
Scooter had so much potential. He had kids like literally passing out, like to get next to him. My son was probably about 3 or 4 at the time, and he loved Scooter. Losing him, it's like everybody lost someone that day.
It's a tragedy worsened by the fact that the man who may have set it all in motion was one of Scooter's oldest friends, Fred Catchings.
I didn't know Fred as well as I knew Scooter. From what they say, he was in the streets and he was about his business, but I didn't see that in Scooter. Scooter stood for what he stood for, and if he had an issue, I'm pretty sure he would do whatever it is he had to do, but not just outright just trying to hurt somebody.
Regardless of what you end up doing, you have to watch your circle. And even when you might be making it, it might be some people that still are trapped in that world and lost in that world, and they can bring you down if they're not ready to get out.
Fred Catchings decides to make a deal with prosecutors.
Catchings initially pleads not guilty to charges of attempted murder, but with the evidence and his own admission, he ultimately pleads guilty to 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder and the use of a handgun.
In August 2017, Fred Catchings is sentenced to 32 years in prison. But the cycle of violence doesn't end. In 2019, his intended victim, Devontae Robinson, is targeted by someone else.
Devontae Robinson was later shot and killed, literally in the exact same way that Cortez Mitchell was shot and killed, and Scooter was shot and killed. And we're still looking for the person's responsible for that.
The murders of Devontae Robinson, Cortez Mitchell, and Scooter's manager, Trayvon Lee, remain unsolved.
It's not the closure anyone was looking for, but those who remember Lord Scooter will always find inspiration in his life and his music.
There are certain preludes in life that leads to success, whether it be a better education, a good job. Scooter found a future in his talent as a rapper.
People need to hear his story because, you know, he came from a struggle and survived some things and was trying to do the right thing and show young people the right thing.
I think he's seen what the other side looked like. I think he felt it, he could smell it. And, you know, for him not to be able to complete that task, you know, was unfortunate. Not only for the complexity of that situation, but the entire culture of Baltimore, young men and women.
One thing I will say to up-and-coming artists, the children that look up to artists like Scooter, you don't have to go the street route. There's nothing glorious about starving and selling drugs and killing one another. That's not glorious. What's glorious is being victorious and coming out of it and giving back to your community and getting us all out of that situation. People don't realize when you take a life, you don't just take that life. You take so many other people around in that level.
When you're that close to a person, you're not thinking about money and fame and all that. Hurt is hurt. You can't skip past that. You can lose money, you can get it back. You cannot get back that person that you lost.
I had stopped doing music for a while after that happened. I feel like I'm kind of letting him down though by just pushing my talent aside, not really focusing on music how I should. I kind of got discouraged a little bit. He was my motivation. I miss him.
I couldn't breathe, felt like my heart just jumped out of my chest. You never think that would happen in your home so soon, so fast, being that your relative, your little brother who you grew up with, knowing that you'll never see him again.
Mr. Martin had 9 entrance wounds to his body. There were 2 to the head and neck area, there were 4 in the midsection, and there were 3 in the lower extremities.
When you shoot someone that many times, this isn't a robbery gone bad. He was targeted.
The sad part is, even though the law acquitted him, in the streets, they don't want to hear any of that.
He would die over there, man. If they had beef, it was his beef.
I said, "Aren't you scared?" And he just said, "I'm not scared of nothing."
He kind of put 2 and 2 together. That was some type of payback.
May 31st, 2018. Just before dawn, police in Waterloo, Iowa, receive a call about an injured man near the 1200 block of Washington Street.
So the initial call came in that there was a black male in a pool of blood in the alley. One of the neighbors in the alley had called it in.
Responding officers quickly determined that the victim has already succumbed to his injuries. They searched for evidence to explain his death.
Of particular interest here was the number of bullets, of shell casings. There were, I believe, 5 shell casings found on scene, 3 fired bullets.
They couldn't find any wallet, ID, so initially they had no idea who this black male in the alley that had been killed was. They did notice some tattoos on his arms, and one of our officers was good enough to run through our database the tattoos that he saw, and that tattoo ultimately identified him as Shavonda Martin.
Shavonda Chavez Martin was born on January 5th, 1996 in Greenwood, Mississippi, to parents Diane Martin and little John Archer Chavez. Shavonda immediately won over his older half-brother, DeAndre.
I remember when he came home in his car seat. He was a smiling baby. He was quiet, like always sitting in his car seat smiling. He was a smiling person. I'm the oldest, and then second, the middle child is Cardarius, and the youngest was Shavonda.
DeAndre, he always been like the smart one, the focused one. Then you got me. I always was the class clown. Then you got Shavonda. He had his own type of personality. Funny, caring, had the biggest heart.
A lot of times, it was just us, kind of us against the world, you know. My mom raised us alone. Dad wasn't there. We lived with family members, been around cousins.
We grew up since we was kids. Like, when we stayed together at my mom's house, it used to be everybody. When we lived in Mississippi, it used to be everybody.
It was fun, rough moments, tough moments, sad moments. But I think that's what made us strong at the end of the day.
In the early 2000s, the extended family decided to move from Mississippi to Waterloo, Iowa.
My parents decided that they wanted something better in Mississippi. There's no money down there. It's like my dad got tired of working for bare minimum and he wanted more, so we moved up here.
The move from a predominantly black city with only 15,000 residents to a predominantly white city of 68,000 came with some culture shock. Waterloo didn't offer everything the family had hoped for.
Waterloo is on the list for the worst cities for Black Americans based on household income, based on home ownership versus renting, based on opportunities, whether it be in jobs or specifically related to pay. And I'm telling you, if you are familiar with this area and you drive through the neighborhoods of Waterloo, you can feel that.
Gunplay was, in our neighborhood, is very normal. Hearing shots all the time, police sirens and things like that.
We wasn't like allowed to like go around the block and stuff because my mom's concerned about safety and stuff, so really tough on us.
Thankfully, the Waterloo community had some strong youth outreach programs.
I had an opportunity to get involved with a soccer program that was beginning in one of the lowest economic schools, elementary schools in Waterloo. And at that, I met Cardarius, and I became his big brother with Big Brothers Big Sisters. Shavandis ended up being on our soccer team the next year.
For the two younger brothers, sports provided an escape and hope for the future.
Shavandis started picking up basketball after I started picking up basketball. He was actually good. Me and Shavandis' conversation was, hey, bro, what you doing? You need to sit there and think about what you're doing. You're really good at basketball, man. Take your talent seriously. Go to school. Like, we need to do something for mom, get her out of here. We need to continue with the sports, play basketball, whatever we can do to get us out of Iowa.
In high school, Cardarius defined himself as an athlete, but Shavandis gravitated toward other interests.
Shavandis, who was very athletic, but also just didn't have that drive. So a lot of times he would be at a game and you just want more from him. He just didn't want to try. And it was kind of that same thing with school. It was really hard to get him motivated. He just didn't have that motivation that the other two boys had. Maybe he saw that Dre was already the man of the house and Cardarius was kind of the athlete, and he said, what is it for me?
As a teenager, Shavandis started making friends on the streets and getting into trouble for the first time.
I think maybe hearing the gunshots in the neighborhood we lived in, sometimes you can just meet a friend or something, and then the adrenaline you're thinking, and it becomes that. So I think he was just struggling with wanting to be cool and be tough.
Shavandis was pretty smart. I mean, he wasn't stupid. He wasn't the person that just did whatever someone told him to. He was his own person.
He was definitely a little, hard-headed and whatever. When he jumped off the porch, he jumped. It wasn't no coming back from it.
In June 2016, Shavandis was arrested for possession of marijuana with intent to deliver.
Shavandis was probably already on the police radar when he got caught with narcotics and a scale and all of that, and then turned back around a month later, and then now is charged with being in the drive-by shooting.
I think it leads from the teenage years, from like fighting and having beef, and then it kind of like level up to go from fighting with hands to with guns.
Shavandis' attempts to fit in on the streets have dire consequences. When someone loses their life, and Shavandis is held responsible.
There were a couple of people shot, one of them being Octavius Brown, who ended up dying.
Shavandis got arrested for murder. I don't know to this day if he was one with a gun that struck the guy.
Shavandis spent 1.5 years in police custody. In early 2018, he went on trial for murder. A jury found him not guilty.
Ultimately, they didn't feel we had enough evidence to put a gun in Shavandis Martin's hands.
I know when he got out, the first thing he did was, he actually said he was done with the streets. He just wanted to work and stay out of trouble.
He was back out. He was working at Tyson Chicken, and he was trying to pretty much reboot and change his life to try to get a low profile and just kind of live life on a better way and a straight and narrow path.
Instead of being in the mode he was before he went in, you know, kind of being on guard when he got out, he's walking around like a changed man. And I think it might have just backfired, letting your guard down, you know.
In the early morning hours on May 31st, 2018, 4 months after he was acquitted of murder and had turned his life around, Shavondes Martin has been murdered.
When I heard the name, it kind of hit close because I had arrested Shavondes Martin for murder roughly 2 years before this incident. During that previous investigation, we got to know each other quite well. My first thought when I learned it was Shavondes in the alley was, this isn't going to be easy. Unfortunately, he had made a lot of people angry, and we knew there was a lot of people that were after him. So it kind of created a wide pool of who might have done this. Made it a little more difficult that I learned his pockets have been gone through and possibly a phone taken. So initially we thought, was this possibly a robbery? So that opens up a whole bigger pool of potential people.
Investigators canvassed the neighborhood, searching for anyone who saw or heard the shooting.
A number of the witnesses described what they believed earlier in the morning, around 3:30 in the morning. They believed that there had been a party going on, and they thought they heard fireworks.
Others recognized the sounds as gunshots, but did not call police.
They don't want to call it in and be part of the crime because then their name gets out that they called it in. So we have a lot of people that won't call it in so they don't have to talk to the police.
Moving forward, homicide investigators have one thing to focus on: who killed Shavondes Martin?
Leaving the scene, we didn't have a lot to work with initially. In terms of the actual players, at that moment, we did not know.
In Waterloo, Iowa, police are investigating the shooting of 22-year-old Shavondes Martin. The victim and his family are well known in the community.
It was decided right away, let's go talk to Mom. We went to Diane's house, and I ultimately made the declaration that Shavondes had been murdered. She was obviously distraught and was having a tough time with answering questions, so she wanted her son DeAndre there.
I remember this like it was yesterday. I was in the car. It was me, my fiance, and my daughter. I get a call and my mom said the police came to her door saying they think Shavondes is dead. I think somebody killed him. And then, honestly, I threw my phone. I hung it up and I said they killed my brother.
Shavondes' older brother, Cardarius, is away at college when he receives the news via text message from a family friend.
So I called my brother, DeAndre. He answered and told me it was true. And my emotions, felt like I couldn't breathe, felt like my heart just jumped out of my chest. You never think that would happen in your home so soon, so fast, being that your relative, your little brother who you grew up with, knowing that you never see him again.
I went to pick my mom up and we went to where he was killed at. We got to see him just laying there lifeless, like an animal that's been ran over by a car. You can imagine how that can make me feel.
While the family and investigators are still at the scene, they receive information from a bystander who says she knew Shavondes.
We did talk to an ex-girlfriend right away, and the reason we did is because she arrived on the crime scene not knowing it was Shavondes, but eventually finding out, and made comments to an officer that she had just been with him that morning. We learned that at approximately 12:30, Shavondes did come by her house and they talked for about an hour. After that, he called a friend, got picked up, and that was the last time she saw him. She had no real description of what kind of vehicle it was, just that it was a 4-door vehicle, and Shavonda had gotten out of the back driver's seat. She didn't know who was driving and who else was in the vehicle. So now we had a timeline of that 1:30 a.m. where he left his ex-girlfriend's house to the 3:30 where the incident happened. So now we've narrowed that time of 2 hours that we need to figure out what happened in that time.
Investigators approach local businesses to see if anyone has surveillance footage of the area where Shavonda was found.
We did find some cameras, but a lot of times what I run across is a lot of people use dummy cameras. It's just a scare tactic. They're not actually hooked up for recording. So we didn't have anything of the immediate area that Shavonda was located at.
Later, the autopsy shows that more shots were fired than police had previously assumed.
Mr. Martin had 9 entrance wounds to his body. There were 2 to the head and neck area. There were 4 in the midsection, and there were 3 in the lower extremities.
There were 9mm bullets used, as well as .357 or .38 Special. .38 Special and .357 are a common revolver caliber, so we felt we were dealing with a revolver that wouldn't have left shell casings. So we believe there's 2 shooters because of the 2 guns.
The brutality of the murder also prompts investigators to theorize about motive.
This is a very personal incident. When you shoot someone that many times, this isn't a robbery gone bad. We're leaning more towards this is personal. He was targeted.
Police consider the recent acquittal of Shavonda Martin on murder charges as a potential motive for his murder.
Obviously, Octavius Brown's friends and family were not happy that he was acquitted on the shooting. His group had also created a lot of enemies, so there were always groups after, not necessarily him, but the people he hung out with.
And you kind of put 2 and 2 together. Everybody had common sense. That was some type of payback.
Investigating the murder of 22-year-old Shavonda Martin, police in Waterloo, Iowa, examined allegations that Shavonda was involved in another murder on July 17, 2016.
We had a drive-by shooting on Logan Avenue in Waterloo. We had a driver that was in his 30s, and then we had 3 other juveniles in the car doing the shootings. Through our investigation, we learned that multiple people fired shots at the house, eventually striking 2 and killing a 3rd.
A witness identified Shavonda as one of the 3 shooters. The murder victim was 21-year-old Octavius Brown.
Everything we learned, Octavius Brown was kind of just a wrong place, wrong time, innocent victim in this.
Octavius wasn't even part of anything to do with the streets. He was a guy that was just happened to be around. He had nothing to do with it. Nobody ever known him to do anything in the streets, guys. He just was a person that knew street guys.
Friends and family members of Shavonda Martin believe Shavonda was murdered because of his association with the death of Octavius Brown and his loyalty to the friends allegedly involved in that drive-by shooting.
We learned that Shavonda was very loyal to his friends, would do anything for them.
He loved his friend. He would die over them, man. It's nothing to really go. You could say to him about them. If they had beef, it was his beef. He was the one that was gonna step in for them.
And friends staying loyal and not snitching and all of these different codes that we have as young black men is the reason why Shavonda went down the hole that he went down.
Shavonda was acquitted of murder charges on February 9, 2018. But the streets may not let go so easily.
The sad part is, even though the law acquitted him, in the streets, they don't want to hear any of that. If you're an alleged shooter of someone's family, we all know it's going to be payback. So he tried to lay low. He tried to work. He tried to keep his head down, stay low, don't go to any clubs like that. But in the back of his mind, I'm pretty sure he knew it was always somebody looking for him, always somebody that was still angry that he made it out.
My best hope for him when he got out was him and my mom just moved. I know Cardarius was living in Minnesota at the time, and then a lot of our families in Mississippi. I was praying that they just moved away. You had to, like, God gave you a second chance. Like, a lot of people, especially young black men, don't get acquitted of murder, so I was like, y'all, you two should just move, but neither one of them wanted to move.
When that's all you know and that's all you ever been around, you haven't traveled much, you don't know what else to do, all your family is there. A lot of times people just feel like they'll just stick around and they'll be okay. They just hope for the best, even though they know they have to look over their shoulders. They just feel more comfortable being in a place that they've always known.
After months of trying to walk the straight and narrow, Shavonda seems to lose himself once again to the streets.
Once he got back around or back in his comfortable environment, he went back to his old ways.
He had gotten out of prison and we were hanging out, and I was just asking what he wanted for his life. It was the last time we hung out, actually. And I just remember him looking at me and he didn't know. And it was silence. And I'll never forget that silence. And I just said, "Aren't you scared?" And he just said, "I'm not scared of nothing."
I hate that mentality. I hate I'm not scared of nothing. In all reality, you don't have to be afraid for something bad to happen to you. So you being tough sometimes is just escalating a situation for something bad to happen to you.
One day after Shavonda Martin was murdered, investigators are still trying to identify individuals with the motive and the opportunity to kill him.
June 1st, we really kind of hit a brick wall. We didn't have any leads on suspects, so we were just kind of trying to figure out what to do next. It was suggested maybe go talk to Mom again, see if there had been any information she had gathered from friends or family that could help us. It happened to be probably the biggest break that we got in the case.
On June 1st, 2018, detectives in Waterloo, Iowa, pay another visit to the mother of murder victim Shavonda Martin.
Diane wasn't home, but her son Cardarius was. While we were speaking to him, a car with 4 females pulled up, and the driver, later identified as Shavonda's cousin, Tatanisha Hunt, got out of the seat and claimed that she had just been at the bus station and Denasia Martin was trying to leave town.
Denasia is like a third, second cousin to me. She was not my cup of tea at all. She was more so into the streets a lot.
Waterloo being a very tight-knit town, I'm very aware of who Denasia was. So I knew who they were talking about, but I didn't know where she fit into this case.
According to Tatanisha, friends saw Denasia sitting at the bus stop with a man they believed was Raymond Burden Jr. They know Burden as the stepbrother of Octavius Brown, the man Shavonda was accused of murdering.
There had been a lot of hate between Raymond and Shavonda. Shavonda had gotten off of murdering Raymond's brother, Octavius. There was always that hostility towards them. So when we get that name, the timeline starts to make sense.
Tatanisha is suspicious of Denasia and Raymond being together and at the bus stop so soon after the murder. So she goes to confront them.
I speed down there. Me and all my friends, we all speed down there. We like 2 cars deep. They see me pull up and they hurry up and drove off. I chased them down. I was like following them. Like they was speeding, I was speeding. I chased them all the way out to like Cedar Falls.
However, at a certain point, she saw a police cruiser and slowed down. After that, she lost sight of the vehicle.
I went back to my auntie house. We was out there, the detective come, and I tell them, you know, I'm angry, like, you know, they was just trying to get to the bus station, get away on the bus.
But at that point, we had no idea what part Denasia played in this, or why she was fleeing town, or why Tatanisha was even looking for her.
According to Tatanisha, a family friend named Muff says he saw Denasia and Shavonda together on the day of the murder.
We learned that Denasia had picked up Shavandez that morning of May 31st and was likely the last person now to see him alive.
Muff was in the car with Denasia when she picked up Shavandez, just hours before he was found dead.
Muff, I actually knew who that was just from previous interactions. I knew where he lived. He was willing to let us in and talk. We learned that, in fact, he was in the car with Denasia when they picked Shavandez up that morning. He put it roughly around 2 o'clock. We asked what happened after they picked Shavandez up. So he said that at the time, he asked Denasia to drop him off at a friend's house near a Walgreens just up the road from where they had picked him up. So then Denasia's alone with Shavandez in her car, being the last person with him. We need to find Denasia.
Detectives go to the Waterloo bus station and request surveillance footage from earlier that day.
Denasia Martin was clearly in a disguise of some sort. Her hair was different. I believe she had sunglasses on. She was attempting to get a bus ticket, I believe to Chicago, but her bag was too big.
Through the investigation, we also learned that Denasia had an apartment in the alley right next to where Shavandez was found. We started doing backgrounds on her, figuring out who she hung out with.
Police records prove that Denasia has a long history with Raymond Burton Jr., the stepbrother of Octavius Brown, who Shavandez was acquitted of murdering.
Raymond and Denasia had an on-again, off-again relationship. It was kind of well known through the police department. They had been arrested several times together. They had caused quite the havoc at juvenile detention facilities.
Now, investigators have 2 prime suspects. And they're not the only ones looking for Raymond and Denasia.
They never went back to the bus station because I was watching. I figured they probably drove out of town because what somebody had told me, they said she was going to Mississippi.
While trying to track down Denasia and Raymond, detectives receive a surprising call.
It did hit kind of stale for about a day, and then we received a phone call from Denasia. She said she was on a bus in, I think, Michigan at the time, but she was on her way to see her dad in Norfolk. At that time, Denasia denied being involved in Shavandez's death, but admitted that she had picked up Shavandez from the apartment complex and was the last person to see him alive. She said she dropped him off in a neighborhood and then went to her boyfriend's house. At the time, I wasn't going to be able to find her boyfriend because he had multiple warrants and didn't want to be found by us. So it left an open alibi there as far as we couldn't prove that, we couldn't disprove it. But the story just didn't seem right to me.
Investigators urged Denasia to come to the police station and tell them everything she knows. But Denasia says she's afraid.
She knew her cousin had died. She also had been receiving some threats as far as being the last person to see her cousin alive. She knew people were looking for her. She was adamant that there was no way she was coming back to her.
Just days after the murder of Shavandez Martin, police in Waterloo, Iowa have received a call from the victim's cousin, Denasia Martin, that she is willing to cooperate with the investigation, but only from a safe distance.
She was in fear. Everyone was accusing her of killing her cousin, and she just did not feel safe. So it was decided that me and another detective were going to go to Virginia and talk to her in person. When we met at her aunt's house, she gave a better detailed statement about what had happened.
There wasn't a great deal of consistency initially with Miss Martin, but we were able to piece together that she had been with a group of individuals on the 30th, including Raymond Burton. They had been driving around.
She talked about their timeline, gave us places that they stopped, All these things that she was telling us was just information that we needed to follow up on. It was potential video, it was potential records, purchases at gas stations.
Law enforcement was able to go back, track that story, and confirm much of what she had told law enforcement. We obtained video footage from a number of locations in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Denasia tells police that toward the end of the night, she and her friend Muff went to pick up Chavandez from his girlfriend's house. Later, she says they were attacked.
They pulled up to an intersection. Multiple people got out of a car in front of them and pulled Chavandez out of the car at gunpoint. She was able to identify two of the people that were in that car, Raymond Burton and another male. She stated that they ultimately pulled him into a car, drove off, and that was the last time she ever saw her cousin.
After Denasia finishes telling her side of the story, police notice one contradiction. She said Muff was in the car with her when Chavandez was abducted. But that's not the story Muff told police. Investigators decide to re-interview him.
He stated that he was afraid of the people that did this, and that's why he never wanted to tell us what happened. But he finally broke down and agreed to tell us what happened.
It was just her and him in a car. They went and picked up Chavandez. We learned from him that Denasia starts acting very bizarre at that point. She's driving all over the place, slamming on the brakes, says she has to use the restroom, which was odd to him because there had been a gas station nearby. They then go up to Denasia's residence on the same alley where Mr. Martin was found.
She left the two of them in her car. During the statement, Muff says Chavandez is very paranoid, doesn't like it. Even makes the comment that, I don't like being out here, I don't have a gun, I have no protection.
Eventually, Muff says he saw a gun come through the window next to Chavandez's head.
He stated that a male with a gun told Chavandez, I got you. At that point, when the gunman started talking, Muff said he knew who it was. He knew it was Raymond Burton.
Raymond Burton ordered Chavandez to get out of the car and walk into the alley behind Denasia's apartment building.
Muff stated that as they're walking back to the alley, another person came from behind the apartment building, joined them, and that's the last time he saw Chavandez.
One of the things that sticks out to me, Mr. Martin knew he was going to be murdered. I don't care who you are, I don't care what you're accused of been doing. Nobody should have to be put in a position where they are walking to their execution.
Muff tells police he fled the scene before the shooting began.
He was afraid, so he pulled away in the vehicle, but as he was pulling away, he did hear the gunshots.
To build a solid murder case against Raymond Burton Jr., authorities know they'll need more than Muff's testimony. They keep searching for evidence that connects the alleged shooter to the victim.
At the time, I knew what Raymond's Facebook profile was. My first thing was see if there was any communication between them. So on Chavandez's Facebook results, we ended up finding a pretty significant conversation.
Shavonda has social media, so people can still contact you. They can still say things that's gonna rile you up and make you feel away. So when he started getting contacted from Raymond, his first instinct was to lash back out, to say whatever he gotta say, because he's not gonna let anybody chump him off or punk him out. And that's where the problem pretty much started to escalate from there.
In that conversation, there is some back and forth between Raymond and Shavonda. At one point, Shavonda insults Otavius Brown, and Raymond takes offense to that and escalates the conversation, threatening Shavonda. Shavonda tells him that if he doesn't be careful, he's gonna end up in a grave next to his brother, to which Raymond responds, "I bet you see him before I do."
Without a doubt, a threat that was made. And this is just in the hours just prior to the shooting death of Shavonda Martin.
At that point, Raymond was actually wanted on a separate crime. We felt confident if we can try to get him in jail, maybe we can build a case and ultimately charge him with.
In the fall of 2018, authorities are searching for Raymond Burton Jr., the main suspect in the shooting death of Shavonda Martin.
Our detectives were able to actually locate him in Texas, get him arrested, and brought back to Waterloo.
Raymond Burton was placed under arrest for an unrelated intimidation with a dangerous weapon prior to his arrest for the murder of Shavonda Martin.
Soon after, authorities also arrest his accomplice, Denasia Martin, who authorities believe lured her own cousin to his death.
There was no denying that she knew that this was payback. This was a setup.
We sent the U.S. Marshals after her in Norfolk, Virginia, where she was ultimately arrested. We had her transported back to Black Hawk eventually, where she agreed to cooperate with the case.
Denasia Martin pled to conspiracy to commit a forcible felony and was sentenced to prison for an indeterminate sentence not to exceed 10 years.
In April 2021, Raymond Burton Jr. went on trial for murder.
We were sitting in the same room as his family, so emotions is flaring. Both families in the same room, so a lot of tension.
I was real angry. I kept walking out the room. Like, I couldn't hear it all. It was just making me so mad.
Raymond ultimately didn't take the stand. He refused to talk to us.
Raymond was very cool and calm throughout the trial, up until the time of the verdict.
On May 4th, a jury decides his fate.
Ultimately, they found Raymond Burton guilty of murder in the first degree. And in Iowa, any murder in the first verdict is a mandatory life in prison without the chance of parole.
It was a relief, but after they said guilty, I told my family we all got up and hurried up and left because let's not give this chance to boil.
Remind you, this is a small city, small neighborhood where nobody really gets out of it anyway. So after the verdict, after all of this, they're still gonna see each other. And they're gonna see each other every day at grocery stores, picking up their kids from school, just anywhere. And this is something they're gonna have to live with.
The mysterious second shooter has never been identified or brought to justice. And tragically, Shavonda's mother did not live to see Raymond Burton Jr. convicted.
This months apart, still grieving from our brother. We had to grieve again from our mother.
In September 2018, Diane Martin died in her own home, the apparent victim of a stray bullet in a drive-by shooting.
I seen my mama laying on the floor right there in the kitchen with blood everywhere. So I looked to see if she was okay. I seen her eyes red. And I seen blood like on the stove everywhere from her back of her head. And I seen it and I ran out the house, always to the end of the church by my house. I sat there in front of the door and cried. and then go back to the house ever since.
Her murder is still under investigation. We have not made an arrest in it. We don't believe at this time she was the intended target. We believe she was an innocent victim in gunplay.
My auntie was an innocent lady, and she didn't deserve to die at all with no bullet. But, you know, if justice don't come, God got him at the end. Your karma gonna come around.
In cases like this, even though it's been years and years already passed down, there's also beefs that get passed down as well. So it's probably still gunplay and other beefs that stem from that's still going on to this day. And there's probably some people that's involved in this beef that doesn't even realize where it really stemmed from. My message to all aunts, all big homies, all fathers, just try to lead by example.
If you care about yourself enough, you'll know how valuable you is. See, me being spiritual and learning how valuable I am, I knew that with me being gone, that my family, my kids and wife, fiance would fall apart and they wouldn't be safe. So I knew how valuable I was. I knew that I was valuable to my family and my friends and to the world more being alive than in jail. That's what kept me straight-headed.